What would you do if you were standing in a courtroom, waiting for your entire life to be decided in a single sentence? For some, it's a moment of regret. For others, it's a complete meltdown. From an inmate who lunged at a judge in a full-blown attack to another who spat on his own lawyer and had to be gagged, these are the most dramatic reactions to sentencing of all time. First up, Bryce Rhodes.
If we might get into a situation on the law where I'm supposed to weigh the pros and the cons.
Bryce Rhodes was once an aspiring rapper, but in 2016, he became a murderer. It started with the killing of 40-year-old Christopher Jones, whom Rhodes mistakenly thought had betrayed him. Two teenage brothers, 14-year-old Larry Ordway and 16-year-old Maurice Gordon, witnessed the crime. Rhodes couldn't risk them talking, so he lured them in, beat them, stabbed them, and set their bodies on fire. By the time he was caught, Rhodes had already made a name for himself in prison for all the wrong reasons. He attacked officers, threatened inmates, made himself one of the most disruptive prisoners in Kentucky. Rhodes didn't walk into the courtroom like a man facing murder charges. He walked in like a showman. He acted like it was all a joke, showing zero remorse. At one point, he blew a kiss to the victim's grieving mother, a move that shocked and disgusted everyone present.
Look at me, ma'am!
He keeps turning.
Ma'am,
His behavior only got worse. He spat on people, screamed at the judge, and accused his own lawyer of sleeping with a juror. He even claimed his lawyer was part of the KKK, throwing out wild conspiracy theories in a desperate attempt to derail the trial.
smiling. I don't know why you're smiling.
Because I can.
Well,
Because I can. It's not a crime to smile.
it's not a crime to
Continue
smile,
what you were saying.
but it doesn't help you.
The judge had enough. He was ordered to wear a spit mask. His hands were shackled, and officers had to physically restrain him multiple times. But no amount of chaos could stop justice from catching up with him. In December 2023, a jury found him guilty of all charges. By March 2024, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
We don't forgive for him. We don't feel like he's remorseful or anything like that, but I do want the court to just upheld, all the sentences, and I appreciate this.
Rhodes wanted attention. He wanted to control the courtroom, just like he had controlled his victims. But in the end, he lost everything: his freedom, his reputation, and any hope of a future outside a prison cell. Next up, Deobra Redden. In the heart of Las Vegas, Courtroom became the stage for an unexpected and violent drama that left many questioning the sanctity of judicial proceedings. On January 3, 2024, Deobra Redden, a 31-year-old man with a history of legal troubles, stood before Clark County District Court Judge Mary Kay Holthus for sentencing on an attempted battery charge. The charge stemmed from an earlier incident in which Redden had assaulted a Las Vegas police officer and spit on him while on probation for a separate offense. The courtroom should have been a place for justice to run its course. Instead, it became a battleground.
I don't understand why the state is really going after my character. I've always had problems since I was a little kid.
As the session commenced, the atmosphere was tense but controlled. Judge Holthus, 62 at the time, began addressing the court.
But I think it's time that you get a taste of something else, because I just can't with that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court...
Without warning, Redden's demeanor shifted dramatically. In a split second, he lunged towards the judge's bench, propelling himself over the 4-foot barrier with alarming agility. Witnesses described his movements as superhuman, a term that would later echo in media reports. Chaos ensued. Redden grabbed Judge Holthus by her hair, pulling her to the ground. The courtroom erupted as law clerk Michael Lasso and other officials rushed to intervene. Lasso later testified about the intensity of the moment, emphasizing the immediate danger the judge faced. Redden's actions led to multiple charges, including attempted murder. In September 2024, he pleaded guilty but mentally ill. His defense attorney, Carl Arnold, brought to light Redden's mental health challenges, noting that he had not been on his prescribed medication at the time of the attack.
She doesn't know me. I understand she's doing her job. I'm not mad at her for that, but I know that I'm not a bad person.
During sentencing, Redding addressed the court, asserting, "I'm not a bad person. I'm not an evil guy." He claimed he did not intend to kill Judge Holthus, expressing remorse for his actions. However, Judge Susan Johnson, presiding over the sentencing, emphasized the severity of the offense, labeling it an attack on the judiciary. She imposed a sentence of 26 to 65 years in prison. Next up, Percy Phillips. In 1993, a quiet gas station in Louisville, Kentucky, became the scene of a horrifying crime. Brenda Whitfield, a 25-year-old gas station attendant, was shot and killed during a robbery gone wrong. The killer took the money and vanished into the night, leaving behind almost no clues. For years, her family waited for justice, but the case went cold. Then, everything changed. In 2009, police reopened the case and re-examined an old piece of evidence, a beer bottle left at the scene. When they ran the fingerprints, they got a match. It belonged to Percy Phillips. Was he the real killer? After decades of waiting, Phillips was finally put on trial. Whitfield's family sat in the courtroom, hoping this would be the day justice was served. The prosecution pointed to the fingerprints on the bottle. They argued it proved Phillips was there the night of the murder, but the defense fought back hard. They said just because his fingerprints around the bottle didn't mean he pulled the trigger. Then, the trial took a wild turn. As lawyers argued, Phillips suddenly lost control. He jumped up, shouted at the officers, and threatened witnesses. His rage filled the room. Deputies swarmed him, trying to hold him back. He resisted, fighting them off until one officer finally pulled out his taser and shocked him in front of everyone. Gasps filled the courtroom. People stared in shock. For a moment, it was complete chaos.
Officer Handy got upset about it. He told me that I was lying. He told me that, my mother wouldn't appreciate the fact that I was sitting here lying, trying to...
When the trial finally resumed, the jury deliberated for hours. But in the end, they couldn't agree. Some believed he was guilty, others had doubts. The judge had no choice but to declare a mistrial. Whitfield's family broke down in tears. After so many years, there was still no closure. Prosecutors announced they would not retry Phillips unless new evidence came forward. And just like that, the case was left hanging, the truth still uncertain. Next up, Franklin Williams.
I'm gonna gag you in 1 second, so just listen to me. Zip it until I give you a chance to talk. You'll get a chance to talk.
In a Cleveland courtroom, an extraordinary scene unfolded. Franklin Williams, a 32-year-old man, stood before Judge John Russo, awaiting sentencing for a series of armed robberies. Williams had a history with the court. He had previously pleaded guilty in 2016 and received a 14-year sentence. However, he appealed, claiming his attorney misled him about early release eligibility. The appeal was successful, leading to a retrial. During this period, Williams removed his ankle monitor in Flood, Ohio, only to be captured in Nebraska and returned for sentencing.
I just met this attorney the other day.
That's fine. So
And I came and took my cell phones yesterday, and they came and took all my property out my cell.
As the sentencing hearings commenced, Williams began interrupting the proceedings, voicing grievances about his legal representation and the handling of his case.
I'm the judge in the matter. Shut your mouth, and I'll tell you when you can talk. You got it? It's the same rules we played by while we were here in trial, every time we were here for a pretrial. So just follow the same rules.
Judge Russo repeatedly instructed him to remain silent, emphasizing the need for order in the court. Despite over a dozen warnings, Williams persisted, leading to an unusual and controversial decision.
Take me off.
Now I'd like you to stay.
Mr. Williams, I want to make it real clear. If you spit on, attempt to bite, or injure any of my deputies, you're going to have a bad day.
Frustrated by the continuous interruptions, Judge Russo ordered court deputies to place duct tape over Williams' mouth to maintain decorum. 6 deputies approached the defendant, and one applied a strip of red tape across his mouth. This action was intended to prevent further disruptions and allow the proceedings to continue. The image of a defendant being gagged in a modern courtroom sparked widespread outrage. The American Civil Liberties Union of Ohio condemned the act, stating it is humiliating. Everything about this is wrong. Critics argued that while maintaining order is essential, the method employed compromised the dignity and rights of the defendant. In response to the backlash, Judge Russo expressed remorse for his decision. He acknowledged that, although there is legal precedence for gagging a defendant to maintain order, the approach taken was regrettable. Subsequently, Judge Russo resigned from the case, and the Ohio Supreme Court appointed a new judge for Williams' sentencing. Next up, Amanda Kosel.
Some doctor's appointments today for my heart. It's just everything overwhelmed, and I deeply apologize for what I did in your court.
On a summer day in 2016, Amanda Kosel made a tragic decision to drive under the influence in Redford Township, Michigan. Her vehicle veered across the center line on Beach Daly Road near Plymouth Road, colliding head-on with an SUV. The devastating crash claimed the life of 31-year-old Jerome Zerker, a devoted father of 5, and severely injured his fiancée, Brittany Johnson. In February 2017, during the sentencing hearing, emotions ran high as Zerker's sister delivered a heartfelt victim impact statement expressing the loss her family endured. An unexpected disturbance arose. Laughter echoed from the courtroom seats occupied by Kosel's mother, Donna, and another supporter. Their inappropriate reactions caught the attention of Judge Kiana Lillard, who halted the proceedings to address the disrespect.
I mean, the entire time that Mr. Zerker's sister was speaking, that clown, and that's what I'm going to call him, a clown, was sitting there smiling and laughing.
Judge Lillard reprimanded the individual, stating, "Whoever can sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member, that clown was sitting there smiling and laughing." She ordered Donna Kosel to leave the courtroom. But as Donna exited, her demeanor prompted further action.
Just exiting quietly, she got up, stormed out, violently burst through the door, and began yelling in the hallway, further disrupting the proceedings.
Judge Lillard found her in contempt of court and sentenced her to 93 days in the Wayne County Jail for her disruptive behavior. The following day, a remorseful Donna appeared before Judge Lillard, expressing deep regret for her actions, attributing them to stress.
Would you like to say?
Yes, I deeply apologize for what I did. I was under a lot of stress.
Taking her apology into account, Judge Lillard reduced Donna's sentence to 1 day, allowing her release with time served. Amidst these events, Amanda Kosel faced the consequences of her actions. She was sentenced to 3 to 15 years in prison for operating under the influence causing death. Now, Manson Bryant.
Your courtroom, you racist ass bitch! Your courtroom, man! You racist as
Manson Bryant sat in the courtroom, hands shackled, waiting to hear his fate. The 32-year-old from Cleveland, Ohio, had just been convicted of home invasion and kidnapping after breaking into a man's home, holding him at gunpoint and stealing cash, jewelry, and electronics.
The court sentences you on count 6, weapons under disability, felony 3 for 36 months. And on count 7, CCW, felony 4 for 18 months.
For a moment, Bryant played the part of a remorseful man. He told Judge Eugene Lucci that he had made mistakes, that he had grown, that he had respected the court. His voice was calm, his words were measured, and it seemed like maybe, just maybe, he would take his sentence like a man. Then the judge spoke, 22 years in prison.
Your courtroom, you racist ass bitch! Your courtroom, man! You racist as You racist as nigga, 22 years!
Something inside Bryant snapped. 22 years? His voice boomed through the courtroom. His calm demeanor? Gone. He jumped up, yelling, cursing, throwing his arms around. His face twisted in rage, and suddenly everyone saw the real Bryant. Not the man who had just begged for mercy, but the one who had terrorized his victim during that home invasion.
Court determined that maximum imprisonment needed, so it's 11 years on count 1 and 11 years on count 3.
The judge stared at him, watching the outburst unfold. Then he sighed. He picked up his pen and added 6 more years to Bryant's sentence. Just like that, 22 years became 28. Brian's attorney sat frozen, knowing that there was nothing left to say. Bryant had sealed his own fate. As deputies dragged him away, still cursing, still raging, the reality was clear. His mouth had just cost him 6 more years behind bars. Now, we turn to Taylor Shabiznis.
And sustained bruised ribs and was exposed to pepper spray. Shabiznis was apparently laughing during the incident. Taylor Shabiznis has a preliminary hearing scheduled for February 7th.
In February 2022, a horrifying discovery was made in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Police arrived at a home where they found a severed human head in a bucket. It belonged to 24-year-old Shad Thyrian, who had been brutally murdered, strangled to death, decapitated, and dismembered by his girlfriend, Taylor Shabiznis. She later admitted to killing him after a drug-fueled night involving sexual choking, saying she just went crazy with it. But the horror didn't stop there. When police found Shabiznis, she was covered in blood and acting strangely, making chilling remarks about what she had done. She showed zero remorse. Instead, she laughed and joked about where she had left the rest of Thyrian's body. Shabiznis's behavior in court was just as disturbing as the crime itself. At first, she seemed indifferent, even smirking and rolling her eyes as the gruesome details of the case were read aloud. Witnesses described her as emotionless, almost amused. But then, things took a violent turn. During one hearing, Shabiznis suddenly lunged at her own attorney, grabbing him by the head and trying to attack him. Deputies had to tackle her to the ground and restrain her as she kicked and screamed. The courtroom erupted in chaos, with people gasping and backing away.
It's the decision of this court and the judgment of the law that Ms. Shabiznis be sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of extended supervision.
Because of this violent outburst, her attorney quit the case, and security had to increase protections for the rest of the trial. From then on, Shabiznis was kept under strict watch, sometimes appearing in court shackled and closely guarded. Despite her attempts to cause chaos, justice prevailed. In July 2023, she was found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree assault. The judge made it clear she would never walk free again. In September 2023, Shabiznis was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Even as the sentence was handed down, she showed no emotion, as if the reality of her fate never sank in. Next up, Andrew Worth. It was supposed to be a fun night out at Vinny's Rock Bottom Saloon in Jefferson, Wisconsin. By the end of the night, 2 people were dead and a community was left in shock. Jennifer Lewick, an off-duty police officer, and her boyfriend, Greg Peters, were at the bar enjoying themselves. Lewick had been playfully pinching people as a joke, just harmless fun. But when she pinched the wrong man, everything changed. Andrew Worth, 35-year-old member of the Diablos Lobos motorcycle gang, didn't find it funny. A heated argument broke out between Worth and Peters. In seconds, Worth pulled out a .380 semi-automatic handgun and opened fire. Lewick and Peters never stood a chance. By the time the police arrived, Worth was already gone, but he was quickly arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. From the moment Worth stepped into the courtroom, it was clear he wasn't going to go down quietly. His rage was boiling just beneath the surface. As the judge read the details of his crimes, Worth gritted his teeth, shifted in his seat, and clenched his fists. He was visibly shaken with anger. The moment his sentence was announced, life in prison without parole, he snapped. In an instant, Worth lunged at the nearest officer, his face twisted in rage. He screamed, cursed, and tried to break free. Deputies rushed in, tackling him to the ground, but Worth kept thrashing, kicking, and resisting. It took 5 officers to restrain him. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Gasps filled the air. Family members of the victims held on to each other, some crying, some too stunned to speak. Even as officers forced him to the ground, Worth kept yelling and cursing, his words echoing through the courtroom. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't remorseful. He was furious. Worth was dragged out of the courtroom in shackles, his outburst caught on camera for the world to see. His violent behavior in court only reinforced why he could never walk free again. Outside the courtroom, Lewis and Peter's family broke down. They had waited for this day, for justice, and while they got it, nothing could bring their loved ones back. In the end, Worth's own rage was his downfall. He may have lashed out one last time, but the law had the final word. He would die behind bars. The courtroom is where justice is served, but sometimes it's also where chaos takes over. Some of these criminals sealed their fate with their own words, letting their anger and arrogance add years to their sentence. Others, they left behind a scene no one would ever forget. But at the end of the day, no amount of outburst, rage, or resistance can undo their crimes. The law always has the final say. Which of these courtroom reactions shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping stories.